Well, welcome to Black Petal Gardening. My name is Sia, and we are gardening in our lovely backyard. Actually, we're on the back porch right now, in Oregon, in Zone 8B. And it has been a very busy day today. It is absolutely gorgeous out, especially after having so much snow and so much rain in the last month. Seeing the sun come out has just been so wonderful. You can see here we've got our Greenstalk. What I want to do is, you can see I've got one of our strawberry plants that overwintered in the Greenstalk, as well as there's one, two, three more over here. We have some still in our second raised bed, the original raised bed, and those I want to transplant as well. So with this, we'll have five, so we'll have a pocket open for one more, and then I plan on doing another second layer of strawberries using what we have in the bed, and then if we don't have enough to fill all 6 pockets of the second layer, then we'll go and purchase some more at the store once they are available. But for now, I did clean this out from last year. I just did the cleaning today, and the reason being is I wanted to make sure I was starting fresh with the soil, especially because I'm doing some transplanting. And in reading up, there wasn't a lot of stuff saying that you couldn't transplant mature strawberries. They did warn that you want to avoid the roots getting oxygen to them. For this guy, that ship has obviously sailed, but the expectation is that you take the entire root ball with soil around it so that the roots are protected, and transplant that into the new soil. I'm going to do my best with these ones that are here as well as the ones that are in the bin. We'll see how that goes. Now, for the soil, I have in here some compost manure blend, as well as worm castings, and I also got a little bit of ash from our fireplace and mixed it in. That's not something I've done before, but I figured I'd give it a go, see what happens. The worst that happens is nothing, or the plants don't really like it. There's not a lot here. What I plan on doing is filling most of this with potting mix, not raised bed soil, sorry. The green stalks, they recommend using potting mix because it is lighter and it won't compact as much. So I'll be using potting mix in here, and then I'll be mixing some of this. I'll probably put it just in the hole that I create for the plants, actually. That might be the better route, rather than spreading it throughout the green stock container. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, we are going to get started. For anybody that's interested in this kind of thing, I do have Kellogg Garden Organics all natural potting mix. I'll be honest, I didn't purchase it because of the particular brand. This was the potting mix that was available at the store for a fairly reasonable price, and so that's what I bought. I'm sure that there are probably people out there that will swear by it, and there's potentially people out there that don't necessarily have a love for it. I will say this is very wet, and I don't know if that's typical or if it's been kept somewhere that's really wet and soaked stuff up. trying to think. I can't remember. I think last year, I don't know that I used this. I think I used like a Vigoro or something like that. And I'll be honest, I don't remember it being this wet. Okay, so as you'll notice, the level is higher than it was just a second ago. I got tired of kind of fiddle farting around and just went with the dump method. I did put a little baggie over the top of the hole because one of the things you want to make sure doesn't happen with these is that the hole gets clogged with debris, because that is how the watering system works, is it utilizes this hole that will go up through the entirety of the Greenstalk. Something I've used in the past is it does come with a hose, a little piece of plastic tubing, and sometimes I'll put that on the top, or I'll just stick my finger in there and put stuff around there to try and keep that free. Now at this point I am going to take this big boy and see how best to get it in here, because the goal is to have the crown here at the level of the edge of the Greenstalk. And when I fill these, whether I'm doing the strawberries or something else, I want to make sure it's as close to the top of the lip as possible. One, because that'll help it get more sun. There won't be shading onto any of the seeds or anything like that if I'm doing direct sowing. But also, there's always inherent compaction, and that will potentially lower the level of the soil just from gravity, watering, and things like that. So if you start higher up, there's going to be less impact of that settling to be dealt with in the future. So there we go. All right, so that's our first one, and I think it's looking pretty good. We're going to hope that the time that it did spend out with the root part, some of the roots exposed, does not have too detrimental of an effect on it. However, I just realized I was dumb and I had not actually put any of the soil stuff in there. So we're just gonna lift that out real quick and put this a little bit around so that it does get the benefits of that. And I will squish it back down into place, and hopefully that'll do just fine. It's probably not going to be very exciting watching me dig up and plant the rest of these, so when we get back, or the next scene you see, should be me dealing with some of the last of the strawberries to come in. Okay, as you can see, I have transferred all of the ones that were in the Greenstalks previously and one from the bin. We have one over here. Looking at it closer, it looks like there might be some powdery mildew on it. And I'll be honest, the ones that are in the old raised beds have been in there. This is either the 4th or 5th year. And from what I've read, the lifespan with good production for a strawberry plant tends to be 2 to 5 years, where they say you see a significant drop off after year 2 or 3. So what I've decided is the transfer from the raised bed, I'm not sure if this is going to be successful. This is the one that I moved from the raised bed. There was a lot of stuff that I pruned off of it because it was old and dead. It's not really well seated in here. The difficulty being, I want to make sure that the roots are covered, but you also don't want to cover the crown. And so I'm trying to be really careful with that. Obviously, as I put more of the soil in here, I'll fill in these empty spots and try and backfill over here while taking care not to bury this main area. But I am thinking it's probably best not to transfer anything from the raised beds in here, anything other than this first one. And then we will just refresh this little pod with a new start from the store. And because I do want to have 2, potentially 3 levels of strawberries, all the rest of them will be new starts that I get from the store. So anywhere from 7 to 13 new strawberry plants is going to be the plan. Yeah, I definitely going to have to keep an eye on these. This is the first time that I have transplanted mature plants. I'm hoping, especially for these back 4 right here, that the fact that they were previously in a Greenstalk and I kept much of the soil, so they were already kind of contoured for the Greenstalk, that this hasn't been so much of a disruption that it will lead to failure of the plants. Time is going to tell, but this is at least a start, and there is absolutely plenty of time for me to see, what the end result of this is. If in a week, 2 weeks, I do start to see them failing, 3 weeks, we'll be getting to the point where the stores should start to have strawberry starts, and it'll just mean I'll have to start all the way over. These particular ones that were in the Greenstalk should only be 1 year old because we got them last year. So they should have more years in them, and it would be a shame if we have to replace them because they don't do well. They did overwinter, so I don't know if that makes them stronger or if that potentially could have made them weaker or have no real effect. But yeah, we're gonna see where we land. So now I'm just gonna get this filled up with soil, and we'll just leave this open and available until we have some starts to fill it. All right, so the next to last step is I did place the water reservoir on this layer. There are holes in each of the 6 little quadrants, which aligns with each pocket, and so you want to make sure that those holes are lining up properly, because as the water comes down through the watering system, that helps ensure each of the individual pockets gets their water. And of course, don't want to get any goobers in here, because that could potentially block the water from getting down. All right, so I took the Greenstalk that had some of the strawberries in it, gave it a good rinse, and I've put it in place. It is on top of that gray circular well that I put in there, and there are little foot things on the bottom that hook into the layer that it's sitting on top of. But this is a good opportunity to kind of show when you are dealing with starts, or when you're doing your seeds, you do want to make sure that you are giving enough room for the layer that's going to be above it, so that when the plants come up, they won't be inhibited by this. So you don't want to put, your seeds too far back into the well of dirt. And when you're putting this down, you want to be careful that you don't damage any of the leaves or stems or pieces of the plant that you have planted, because it does need to come down and rest on the layer below it. And as a last little piece of information, I did forget to mention in reading up on these, and see, this one was from the bin, and I don't know if that's powdery mildew or not. We'll keep an eye on it. These are acid loving plants, so I did have some soil amendment that is specifically for acid lovers. It specifically said acid lovers on it. It's for like azaleas, blueberries, things like that. So I did put some of that in this mix as well, and I'd forgotten to mention that. So yeah, what I am going to do, actually, I just put this on here for a visual, so you can kind of see if you've never seen one of these before, or to point out where you have to take care. I am not going to leave this on here and put the dirt in and things like that, because these are heavy. These take about a cubic foot of soil. Sometimes it feels like a little more. Obviously, in the case of the strawberries, I did have a little bit of soil with the roots already, so it didn't take the full bag that I had of the potting mix. But I think if you figure at least one full bag of potting mix, you'll be in, per layer, you'll be in a good shape. But that does make it extremely heavy. So what I will actually end up doing is, once I feel it's a good time for me to put the strawberries out, I'll put them on the base that I have, which is in the yard. And then as I fill bins in the tower, I'll add those up on there, so that way I'm not trying to cart something that's super duper heavy, multiple things at a time, or anything like that. Anything that I'm going to be doing seed starting in, for example, for the beans, those will be a direct sow. I will probably set it here on the porch so that it can get its light and its rain and sun and all of that, and get some starts before I put it actually onto the tower. March and April tend to be good months for me in my growing area to start both peas and beans. It might be too early for folks that are in a different zone. So we'll see where that lands. And the next thing I'm anticipating that I will be putting into the ground will be in our now finished, hooray, raised bed, and that will be the onion starts that I mentioned, as well as some of our sugar snap peas. Anyway, that is it for this particular video. I hope you found it interesting. If there are any questions, absolutely drop those into the comments. If you have suggestions or ideas on how I can make my strawberries more successful, particularly these ones that are mature and I've transplanted, and of course any of the starts that we're going to be purchasing, I am 100% all ears. I am not an expert. I have experience in amateur gardening, and that's all that's really going for me. So much of my stuff is pure luck, and Mother Nature giving a helping hand. So if you have some expertise or suggestions, I would love to hear those. Or if you just want to say hi, very happy to hear from anybody that might be watching. So at this point, it is getting a little bit later in the afternoon, so I am going to end it here, and I hope you have a marvelous day, and until next time, take care of yourselves. Thank you.